Welcome back to Beyond the Label, everyone. David here, and as always, I'm joined by Eric and Harper. Today we're going to talk about something that, let's be honest, often gets swept under the rug. The not-so-pretty side of parenting. You know, the stuff we rarely put on social media. Grief, guilt, and fear. And let me start by saying, I always trip up on neurodiversity. See? Did it again. So let's just embrace the awkward and dive in.
I'm glad you tripped over that, David, because if there's a theme today, it's that it's okay not to have it all together. There's this myth that parenting should be a constant avalanche of joy. But I mean, most of us are multitasking exhaustion, anxiety, and, a lot of conflicting feelings. Jane Fresno, in her article, talks about how grief isn't just about loss in the typical sense in parenthood. It can come from losing old versions of ourselves or from our dreams for our kids not matching up with reality.
Absolutely, Eric. I always think of it as this weird mashup of emotions where you can be beaming with pride one minute and then, bam, you're missing that spontaneous, pre-kid version of yourself. Jane Fresno's point about grieving what you imagined for your kid, that totally hit home for me. There's this silent mourning sometimes for the paths they don't take.
Oh, Harper, that reminds me. I had this really peculiar emotional cocktail when my daughter, who is neurodiverse, see, nailed it, graduated from mainstream school. My heart was all fireworks, but there was this shadow of grief sneaking in too. I was so proud, but also mourning all these what-ifs tangled up with seeing her take her next big step. Some people, well-meaning folks, they'd say, "You must be so happy!" And yes, I was. But also, it was beautifully bittersweet, because it felt like the closing of a dream I'd quietly hung on to. Anyone else ever feel double-booked by their emotions like that?
Oh yeah, I'll take tickets to that emotional double booking. Guilt used to ambush me regularly. Like that time I skipped a parent-teacher night because of an advocacy event. I obsessed over it for weeks. Social media makes it worse, right? You scroll and see these perfect families, and suddenly your own missed dinner feels like a massive parenting fail.
I think everyone's felt that. You look at other parents and it's, how are they making school lunches that look like art installations? Most parents, according to the research in Fresno's piece, get caught in this comparison spiral and feel that familiar guilt about never doing enough, whether it's work-life balance or just meeting those society-scripted milestones.
And then there's fear, right? It lurks around the corner of every little thing. I remember panicking the first time my son crossed a street on his own. Suddenly, every newspaper headline flashes before your eyes. Plus, there's that fear that you're not keeping up, not being enough. The pressure's relentless.
What helped me was being honest about it. I admitted in a parents group that sometimes I felt guilty choosing work or advocacy gigs over home stuff. And honestly, the relief was huge. Just having it out there, hearing everyone else say, "Oh my God, me too," made me feel less like a flailing imposter and more like a real human working through it. It's universal. Totally not something we should keep hush-hush.
Picking up on that, let's talk about what parents can actually do to make some room for those feelings. Fresno's article gets practical. One idea is just journal it out. Even if it's scribbles between meetings, getting thoughts onto paper lets you see patterns and helps tune down the internal critic.
I do a hybrid, journaling and voice notes. But meditation's big too. Not the incense and silk kind, just basic mindfulness. 5 minutes, focus on your breath, and suddenly those huge emotions aren't quite as scary. Even honest conversations, texting a friend or just checking in around the dinner table, can normalize what feels overwhelming inside.
You know, that reminds me. We got an email a while back from a listener, Sam, who said they started a family journal after our episode about self-advocacy. They passed it around at dinner. Sometimes it was funny stuff, sometimes really raw. but it transformed dinner from "How was your day?" to "What is everyone really feeling?" Sam said even the reluctant teen joined in by week 2. It's a simple shift, but it makes space for emotional honesty, a bit of an emotional group hug, if you like.
That idea of a non-judgmental community, whether it's your kitchen table or a faceless forum online, really helps. If you're worried about judgment, anonymous forums can give a safe start. Family check-ins, even silly ones, can be emotional life jackets too. It sort of normalises the weird, messy, but utterly universal bits of parenting emotions.
So, once you start making space for all the feelings, the next leap is figuring out how to weather them, yeah? Building resilience. Think of it as emotional core strength training. For me, that's turned into a strict-ish self-care routine. Doesn't mean weekly spa trips, more like actually eating breakfast or baking my wild and wonky sourdough. Have to say, the bread's good for emotions and carbs both.
Can I just say, your bread picks are legendary, David. But seriously, there's power in small routines. Like, I keep a tiny gratitude notebook by my bed. Jot down one thing I'm grateful for every night. That plus knowing who my go-to people are, my support network, whether friends, family, or honestly, my therapist, really fortifies me. You need those folks who'll listen when you go, "Today was rough," and not try to fix. Just hear you out.
Reflection's crucial, isn't it? Whether it's formal therapy or a 5-minute check-in with yourself. Regular reflection stops the feelings from bottling up. And, like Fresno points out, setting realistic expectations rather than chasing perfection protects your mental well-being. Give yourself permission to not have all the answers. And seek the support you need. No shame in it.
Right, and honestly, regular support matters as much as the emergency interventions. Building that into your evenings, your weekly schedule, can stop emotional storms before they start. Think of it as parenting with a life vest. Resilience isn't about not getting wet, it's about not going under.
So let's get really practical here. Self-compassion. I used to think it sounded kind of cheesy, but okay, it actually works. Every morning, I write 3 nice things about myself. Could be kept a houseplant alive or tackled the scary inbox. It counters that inner critic that's always whispering, "Not good enough."
And for those utterly frazzled days, mindful breathing's a game changer. Even if you've only got 60 seconds, just pausing to breathe deeply can break the nervous energy. It's like rebooting your emotional operating system before it crashes.
Yeah, I schedule a pause, almost like an appointment. Just step outside or hide in the pantry. Don't judge. And breathe or just stare at the clouds for a couple of minutes. That micro break stops me spiraling when stuff piles on, and it's a reset that actually works. Mind you, I sometimes just count breaths so I don't get distracted by the laundry list of things I'm supposed to remember.
And if that pause is only the walk to the mailbox, so be it. It's less about what you do, more about making those compassionate moments automatic, woven into your day. That, in my opinion, is peak parenting resilience.
Last but not least, let's talk about combining all this with the million things already on your plate. Self-care often feels impossible for busy parents, but Fresno gives some realistic options. It can be integrating micro self-care, like sneaking in a quick stretch or breathing exercise while you wait for the kettle to boil.
Yep. I started blocking teeny me-time chunks on my calendar, usually right before or after family routines. Even 5 minutes adds up if you treat it as non-negotiable. Plus, scheduling it tells everyone, yourself included, that you matter.
Oh, totally, Harper. And here's something we do at home. We add self-care moments right into our family calendar. Everyone gets a slot. Sometimes it's a solo walk. Sometimes it's a silly dance-off. And it builds support for each other's downtime. Not gonna lie, I book mine for baking, shocker. There's something about making it visible to everyone that says, we all need this, and it's okay.
It's solidarity, and I think it's the piece that ties together everything we've been discussing, not just today, but in earlier episodes too. Sharing responsibility for self-care models it for our kids, sets boundaries, and gives everyone a toolkit to handle those tough feelings.